Hey, my name's Andy. I'm the founder at MMG Design in Columbus, Ohio. Recently, I had the chance to attend a web designer slash agency owner mastermind. This is a paid exclusive group, and I got access to a ton of awesome events and speakers. I got to meet a ton of awesome people and learn a ton of lessons. A little bit about this group. This video is just going to be a quick run through of all the biggest lessons that I've learned and paid for exclusive access to. There was a lot of awesome speakers. The headliner of this event was Jay Clouse, the founder of Creator Science and a big personal role model of mine. It's a group called Web Designer Pro, which is a community group for web designers and aspiring agency owners. It's based in Columbus, Ohio, but it's a nationwide and worldwide group. And this is an exclusive private group, so it's something that I've paid access for. The year and a half that I was with the group, I paid $100 a month plus a one-time fee access to this event at AC Hotels in Columbus, Ohio. So in total, paid over $1,500 to $2,000 for the lessons I'm about to share with you today. So this is going to be focused on Jay Clouse's talk, and he talks a lot about newsletters. Like I said, Jay is a really close personal role model of mine. I did get to meet him, but these are the notes that I took that I'm going to apply to my agency moving forward. And I find that retention is a lot better as I go through these things. So I'm going to share everything that I learned from Jay with you guys. Jay has a newsletter called Creator Science. Highly recommend that you guys check that out. An exodus of 60,000 subscribers. He publishes weekly, and it's led to a ton of other business opportunities for him. And he has just gone to the moon. And by the way, Jay in person is an incredible person as well. I recommend you guys check him out. I have these organized into notes, quotes, and action items for my own business. I'm going to talk through them one at a time. Notes. Strategy is greater than tactics. So when you're thinking about starting any marketing channel, any newsletter channel, with the incentive of business growth, you want to know what the ideal end outcome is. What is the thing that I'm optimizing for? For me personally, I have a newsletter that shares company updates, and it goes out every Sunday. It's just the Marketing by Design newsletter. Very simple, and it takes people behind the scenes, and it generates a lot of personal curated responses and personal conversations, feedback. And into it, you sort of cleverly link in, just by nature of talking about what you do. You generate conversations with ICP, you add on to that list over time, and it just keeps a dialogue going. And he talks about some of the reasons he sees founders write newsletters. It creates a body of work, and it's an indexable library of prompts and refinement of ICP. So this is something I hadn't really thought of before, but the idea that if you create a body of work, and this is becoming more common now with video transcripts and creating video content like this, is that you can actually create a refinement of who your ICP is over time based on the contents of your writing. So for example, if you're tailoring your content towards attracting a specific type of buyer, you can more easily reformat the contents of your newsletter and your other existing content over time to slowly refine and have more targeted messaging. So that's something that I hadn't really thought about. He talks about how there's nowhere to hide in email. So your name is attached to the sender address. People know exactly who it's coming from, Andy at MMG Design. So it's a very vulnerable position to be in. And a lot of times it feels like it's one way. So that's a big thing I took away. You want to gauge how good your ideas truly are. Email is a really good platform for that. And you're going to see a lot of times it's really, really very easy to test an email subject line effectiveness and very abstract metrics like that. That can be tracked via open rates. But to gauge how good your ideas truly are, what you can do is start to repurpose across platforms. So something I've had good success with is taking my top performing LinkedIn posts from that week and using them as an email, or vice versa, or taking the email and using that to inform a more longer form piece that I'll then use in the future. Email is a good relationship platform, so it lasts a very long time. He talked about the example of how college students get their email, and it's the one social platform where you have an open line of communication for years and years on end. And especially with social media platforms becoming so abstract and opposite to that, followers don't just because someone follows you on social doesn't exactly or necessarily mean that they're going to be seeing more of your content. Whereas if someone opts into your newsletter or your mailing list, they're going to be they have opted in, they've raised their hand to say, I want to be consuming dialogue from you in the future. One of the biggest premises that Jay talks about is illustrated in this picture of kind of his ideated content process and what's going through his mastermind of a head as he creates this stuff, is that each piece of content, each email that you write is optimized to pass this regret test. So that should be your metric of success. Think, if your ideal audience member, the person that you can serve the best, your ICP, opens this email, sees this piece of content for you, does that pass the filter, the bar that you set in your mind to say, this is good enough to make me want to see more from this person? And that should really be, if you can reverse engineer that before you go in and send an email, post a piece of content, then that's just going to set you up on a better path, because you know in the beginning that you're garnering for the right people and you're playing a long-term game. Some of the specific quotes that he mentioned that I'm going to talk through: email marketing is a communication tool. Newsletter is a regular form of communication via email. And this is sort of the zoomed out psychological approach that you can take to email just as a platform. Kind of help me to understand what the dynamics of it are, because I am fairly new to this concept of email marketing. He says to don't use shorthand. And one of the biggest quotes that he said that I loved is, I write for an audience of Tims. And he used this example of Tim Urban, who has just an incredible backlog of, high performing email content and newsletters. And Tim Urban was asked like what his mindset was when he was writing. And he basically distilled it down in super simple, unsatisfying answer of, I just write for an audience of Tims. Like, and that makes it really clear in my mind, because I feel like sometimes we all have this idea that we have to serve someone that's different than us. We have to zoom out of our own heads and think differently than the thought patterns that we're already normally thinking. And that was a big mindset shift for me, because I kind of grew up. I even had people tell me that you need to think about the person on the other end, which I agree with. But the only way you can really reach that other person and connect with them is by your own lived experience. So you can only pass through the own goggles of what your vision of reality is, but do your best to apply that to other people. Write for people like yourself, and that's going to attract more of that person over time, because you don't want to pretend to be someone that you're not and grow a list of people that you're just putting on a mask for. Some other things he says, what is the work that keeps on working for me when it's done? More to that concept of email being a high leverage asset. Printing your own lottery tickets. This is one of his James Clearisms that he's mentioned as well. Him and James Clear are really close affiliates and friends. So he references him a lot in his content. He said to be a filter, not a source. So it's kind of talking on his ideation process when thinking of newsletter content. You want to be the trusted resource for whatever your niche and industry is. And when you're getting started with a newsletter, which I was at the time, can I subscribe you? And he said in the beginning, it's a very scalable method to get started, because you can control how to get your first 100. And the thing that he said that I'm going to write down after this, which just came to my mind, is the easiest way to get your first 100 newsletter subscribers is to send 100 text messages. And that's something that I have done on a smaller scale. I've sent 50 at this point. And you guys would be just dumbfounded at how actually easy it is. You get this overwhelm thought in your mind, like, no one wants to hear from me. No one cares about my newsletter. No one cares about me at all. But you find people, it's just a very low opt-in, especially if you took the time to send a personalized message. That's how you're going to set yourself apart, and then you're going to go a long way. It's a lot of good momentum, and it kind of shares that you're on the right path. These are my personal action items for MMG in the company. So this kind of hit me at a really good time, because I was rethinking a lot of my personalized offers, redoing the website, becoming more productized and packaged. And I was like, okay, how does this whole conversation of email fit into that? Back to that premise of the audience, you want to think about how what you're doing, your insights, what you're spending your day doing on a daily basis actually adds value to that audience. Become that trusted source. Don't use the shorthand tips and tricks, was something that he was very, vehement on mentioning, which is something I was guilty of in the past. Is there a common enemy? So you can very easily level set with your readers by when you plant your flag in the ground, thinking, what is something that I have a firm belief on, and creating that commonality with my audience. Remind yourself why you are doing this. Differentiation is the key. Obviously, you don't want to become a saturated thing, especially in the email inbox where people are bombarded. One of the biggest things that I took away: improving health, wealth, relationships, and happiness. That is the core incentives of human emotion. And if you can tap into those with your content in any way, shape, or form, then you've done a good job. And I think about this in the web design process too. Like, how can we elevate when we do our strategy workshops? How can we take our clients through identifying how they're helping their own clients do that and put that in a way that they can distill on their homepage? Distills a lot of information into the essential, so you can become a filter for what's working on the outside and be the one trusted source at the bottom for your audience. Whatever you can do that helps them make money, improves their status, and at the bottom line, this is what XYZ type of people create. So you're creating that association with the type of person that you want to become in your audience's mind. And email is one of the best places to do that. So I hope this helped you guys. If you got anything out of this video, connect with me on LinkedIn. I share all this stuff in the present, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.